Well, hi, good morning and good afternoon, everybody. This is Liz from John Howard. I'm based in Vancouver. Thanks so much for joining us for the 8th session in our virtual National Staff Conference, adapted from what would have been an in-person event in Kamloops in May. Very, very happy this week to be joined by Catherine Latimer, the Executive Director for John Howard Society Canada. I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with her. And David Towers, who is one of our peer mentors here in the Lower Mainland. So today, today we're going to be featuring the new podcast that JHS Canada has launched. So this is called Voices Inside and Out. You can see the image below there. And if you Google it, it's available online right now. So the podcast talks with people who've had lived experience of being incarcerated, who've walked through the gates, their personal stories and strategies, successes and failures. So David is, as I mentioned, one of our peer mentors, and he's going to be featured in the podcast in the next couple of weeks. And so as a kind of intro to that, hoping to hand over to Catherine and David to talk a little bit about what his experiences have been. And David is also joined by... David is also joined by Teddy Chan, who oversees the peer mentor program in the Lower Mainland. And he's just to the side of the screen there. Yeah, they can speak a little bit more about the program that we deliver here in the Lower Mainland and Nanaimo. So with that, I will hand over to you guys. Thanks. Oh, one last piece, housekeeping. As always with our sessions, if you have questions along the way, please submit them to the chat box in the right-hand side. And us as presenters and moderators will be monitoring. And then the team will aim to answer as many questions as they can, probably at the end of their session. All right, thanks very much, guys.
Thank you, Liz. It's just a great opportunity, and I'm very grateful to be here with David and with the John Howard Society of BC. I really want to thank BC for carrying on. I think it was a great disappointment for many. The staff conference had to be canceled, and I think these sessions have just been terrific, and I really do want to thank them. And I'm very pleased to be talking about Voices Inside and Out. We had this idea that the experience of people who've been through certain events resonates well with those who are about to go through those events, or would be educational for those who are going to be supporting people who are about to embark on a journey of reintegration. So we got a little bit of funding from Public Safety Canada, which was enough for us to buy podcasting equipment and to try and learn how to use it. And so working with a co-host who is a man with lived experience, we've interviewed quite a few people about their experiences in the hopes that they would share with us the challenges that they experienced, the strategies that they used. We could learn from their mistakes. They might be able to give us advice as to good techniques for successfully bridging from prison into the community. And it was a remarkable experience, and I must say that I learned an awful lot from people. And one of the things that was most striking to me was that many of these people with lived experience went on to be peer mentors themselves and are supporting others coming back into the community. And David's a great example of that. We'll get to him in just a minute. I think there's nothing quite as helpful as learning from those who have experienced what it is we're trying to support. So I'm grateful for all of you who are here. Don't let me leave without an ask of my good colleagues from John Howard's across the country, but right now I'd like to turn the floor in part over to David, and maybe David can tell us a little bit about his own experience. As a person with lived experience, he left prison at one point and joined the community. And David, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I've had a lot of experience with institutions, juvenile system here in BC and the provincial system, and eventually the feds. For a lot of years in my life, that's all I knew was alcohol, drugs, crime, violence, and prison. It was a merry-go-round. And
so you had quite a bit of experience leaving prisons and quite a bit of experience about coming back in.
Yeah, this is my first. This is the first time I've ever come out of prison and been able to stay out.
That's great. Yeah, yeah.
You know, but the longest since 1963, the longest period I've been in the community in one lump was like 3.5 years or something, and it's all down to the way that I thought, my worldview or my self-view or something. In order to get where I am right now today, I had to change the way that I think about everything. Crime, drugs, the police, authority figures, everything. I had to.
And what prompted you to have that realization? Was it just a factor of maturing, or did somebody coach you, or was there some event that triggered this perception that you have to think about things differently?
Well, I tried everything else in life. Like I couldn't stay clean for a day and a half. I couldn't stay sober. I've been alcoholic since I was 9 and a drug addict since I was 11. And also addicted to the prison merry-go-round. You know, the biggest contributing factor for me this time was what they call a spiritual awakening. I had to quite literally let go and let God. I didn't come on here to preach the gospel, but that's part of, you know, people ask, what's the big change in David Towers? And that's it. I had to let the Lord in.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that the number of people who, you know, have some transformative event that involves a spiritual awakening. Yeah. Like John Howard is more inclined to give you the tools, or try and provide the tools you need to lead crime-free lives, and to you know, support you with your pro-social behavior and so on. But there is something about that spiritual connection which does make a big difference for a lot of people. Yeah.
When it comes to John Howard, the John Howard Society has been a major contributing factor in helping me turn my life around. This is my fourth time on parole. I finally made full parole. I didn't think I was ever going to live long enough to see full parole. Again, because of the way I thought about stuff. I'd never had much experience with the John Howard Society before, except for when in 1995, my biological mother came back into my life, and she was staying at a John Howard house in Abbotsford, coming to visit me in Matsqui Prison.
Nice. Yeah.
And before that, I'd never really heard of the John Howard. I just thought that they were a group of people that you could go and, I don't know, get a place to stay or a job or something, and I never paid a lot of attention to it. This time, I found myself, my last parole violation cost me 3.5 years in a place called Ferndale, which is minimum security. I went in there, and there was something different about it all. I didn't go in there. It's the first time I've ever been incarcerated in my life where there was no resentment or complaints or what the dirty buggers are doing to me. This time, it was something, and this is tied directly to the spiritual awakening. It was like God was telling me, look, that's all over for you. Here's what I want you to be doing. I want you to free your mind of all of this resentment and hate for authority and what the dirty buggers are doing to you this time. And all I did was, and just, you know, keep picking them up and putting them down in the direction that I point you, and everything is going to be different. It didn't say better, it said different. When I was in Ferndale, there was a bunch of people that I had done time with before, and we had raised our fair share of hell in the mediums and the maximum institutions. And I see them now, they're in a minimum, and they don't even look like the same people.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And these people were put in my place, they were put in my path, and we started to go to AA. I know we're not supposed to, we're supposed to maintain anonymity at the level of press, radio, and TV, but that's what worked for me. I hung out with a group of fellas that had done a big turnaround in their life, and we started going to Alcoholics Anonymous. We started going to church, started going to Northview Church here in Abbotsford, and I just lost all of that former resentment and hate for authority, and you know, it's not something I can really put my finger on. It was just a spiritual. They refer to it as a spiritual experience or a spiritual awakening, and that's what did it.
It's quite something. I mean, I ascribe to the theory that people can do it and we can help, but unless the person has that attitude that they really want to make it, it's very difficult to, you know, force somebody to be something they don't want to be or not ready for. You know?
Yeah. When it comes to addiction of any kind, and crime and violence is an addiction, prison was an addiction for me. I'll tell you about that in a little bit, how I turned that around, or how I was led to turning that around. The bottom line is it ain't over till it's over.
Yeah.
There has to be a genuine desire for something different.
Yeah. And I think it's really inspirational when people who have your track record can turn it around, right? I mean, other people looking at that will probably say, well, you know, I thought he was destined to be in here for the rest of his lives. If he can do it, why can't I do it, sort of thing. You know what I mean? I think it's very helpful for other people.
I resigned myself to dying of old age in a prison yard.
Yeah, terrible.
15 years old.
Wow.
I did. Yeah. It was like I'd thrown in the towel on life. I'd found a home in prison. It became the life I loved to hate. And, yeah. You know, it was, and there's a few times, you know, I OD'd a few times in there, and there was other things, fights and whatnot. But 50 odd years of prison, and I had 4 fights. What does that say? I don't know. It's yeah. Something, but I don't know what. Yeah. And it was just, there was programs in there that I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to at the time, one of which was called Breaking Barriers. And the facilitator was a fella kind of similar to myself. I don't know if he was a lifer or not on parole, but he used to come into Matsqui Prison and give us this program called Breaking Barriers, and I thought it was a bunch of hooey. I had this misconception, and a lot of fellas do, I notice, when you've done a significant amount of time, there's this solid con syndrome, and it's a bunch of BS. People, including myself for years, had the mentality that, well, in order to make it in the community, you have to sell out, you have to turn on your brothers, and you have to that's not true. You know, I'm sitting here working for the John Howard Society, trying to use my experience to help fellas like me that have done millions of years of time, helping them to try and adjust into the community. Because that's no life to have in there. There is life out here. Life is good out here, but there has to be a desire. And all that I do is basically listen to people.
Yeah.
The guys that are getting out, they've done mountains and mountains of time, and they don't know anything else. And sometimes all it takes is an ear. You know, what they call a peer counselor. I have a shingle for that, and it's only good in one place on the planet, and that's Matsqui Prison, where I got the ticket. That was through an outfit called Link, they call it out here, and they sponsored this peer counseling program, and I learned something very valuable there, that not everybody that comes to see a counselor is looking to be counseled. In most cases, they just want to be heard.
Yeah.
They just want to have somebody. They just want to be able to vent and not have it go anywhere else.
So were you a peer counselor when you were still a prisoner at Matsqui, or were you coming? Yeah, you were, eh? That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, there was about 15 of us took that program. And I found it beneficial. I had guys come into my cell and just sit down on the bed. I just want to kill some bulls, right? And, oh, okay, have a cup of coffee. You need a cigarette, and just let them vent. And they go away knowing that it's not going any further, and they feel better. They don't want to kill anybody after that. And it's usually drug or stress related or family related. Somebody's jacking around with their visits, or their you know, it's all of these, well, what the dirty buggers are doing to me now.
Yeah.
You know?
Before I take it to the outside, I'm interested about what's happening on the inside. And I mean, what you were saying basically is that when you were younger, you didn't have any hope that life would be any different than what you were experiencing then.
Yeah. Well,
how do people like us try and instill hope in people? Because without hope, you know, the motivation to change isn't really there. I mean, if you honestly believe nothing is going to happen that's positive, why would you put forward the effort? You know?
I was there for years. I was there for most of my life. That there's no hope. It is what it is. This is all there is. There ain't no more. And just
acceptance.
Accept the fact you're going to die in a prison yard or a prison cell of old age or whatever. Yeah. And life goes on. I developed a lifestyle in there where, I mean, I learned a lot of valuable stuff there. Everything that I learned in there, for example, I became a certified welder fabricator in there.
Okay. Yeah.
And a peer counselor, like I said. I became a level 3 or level 1 culinary fella. I've always liked to cook. I got my certification there. And I developed a lifestyle where I got up. I had a routine. I get up at 7 in the morning, go and have my breakfast, smoke a joint or eat a bunch of pills or whatever, and go about my work day. And then come home, do some more dope or make some more home brew, and you know, enjoy the rest of the evening watching TV. Somewhere along the line, I had to have something different.
Yeah.
Like I'd be doing a whack of speed in my cell in Matsqui and looking in a shaving mirror saying, what the hell are you doing? You know, this is not you. When my birth mother came into my life in 1995, and that was a big turnaround. Knowing that I hadn't been thrown away as a kid, because all my life, I knew I was adopted. I found out I was adopted when I was, I think, 7 years old or something. And I asked my grade 2 or grade 3 teacher what being adopted meant, because I was taking a lot of flack from other kids. Well, you're adopted. And I thought that meant I had some kind of weird disease or something. So I asked my teacher as I was cleaning blackboards one day, I said, what does adopted mean? And she said, well, that means they didn't want you when you were born.
Oh my God.
Far out. So now I start running away from my adopted home, trying to find my biological mother to ask her, what did I do that you didn't want me when I was born? I was a baby. I was this long. Everybody loves babies, don't they? So what did I do to piss you off that you didn't want me when I was born? And this was my way of thinking. And of course, I was 47 when my birth mom came into my life. She found me in Matsqui and told me how I came to be adopted, and it was a tragic situation. It broke her heart, and that was a major turnaround. But still, I was tied to the prison house.
Yeah.
I couldn't find. I had parole hearings and people telling me, "Well, you got to change this if you ever want to see daylight." And at that point, I really didn't care whether I saw daylight or not because I had a life inside. I hated it, but it was my life.
Yeah. Did you find any of the programs offered by correctional services to be helpful to you? I mean, you're talking about the tickets, right? You got the welding and.
You're going to have to repeat that, ma'am, because you broke up real bad.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was asking whether any of the programs that CAC were offering were.
I still didn't get it.
Any programs.
Okay. Were any of the programs that CAC offered helpful to you?
Now maybe. At the time, no. I didn't have, the only reason I went to, for example, I started my life sentence in Edmonton Max.
Oh, God.
And about 5 years into my life sentence, it was a requirement at that time to go to a place called RPC Saskatoon, Regional Psychiatric Center in Saskatoon, to take what they call the Violent Offenders Program, where it's group therapy, 24 guys in a group, and you talk about your offenses and what led you to become a criminal or whatever. It wasn't until many years later where I started to see value in because being a loner all my life, I could never get my head around group therapy or group stuff. It wasn't until years later, when I was at Harbor Light, when I started to recognize the value of what they call the group dynamic. One of the biggest things was realizing that I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that all this stuff happened to when I was a kid. There's other people, and I'm not the only person that thinks like I do.
Yeah.
So we get to interact a little bit, and I rubbed elbows with people that normally I wouldn't have had anything to do with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's because of that I started seeing the value in violent offenders program and breaking barriers, and it became less of something that the man was requiring me to do.
Yeah.
And it became more about something I can use. And now I'm using that experience to help other people as far as they want to be helped. Right?
Okay, let's go to that. What were some of the challenges that you faced when you left prison and came into the community? Did you go to a John Howard house? The John Howard house?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just about to get on that. Now, John Howard, like I said, has been a very important contributing factor in what I do now. I found myself at a place called Elliott House in Abbotsford here. Or there, I'm not in Abbotsford at the moment. And the way of running the place was different than anything else I had. It was not like prison. It wasn't like a halfway house. It was like there was rules there, and the rules have to be followed, or you get jacked up. But there's always going to be rules. The people that ran Elliott House, specifically a fellow called Adam Strider, if I'm allowed to name names, because it is important. I mean, this guy deserves recognition for the things that I do now. Him and a lady called Megan, who also ran the place, and just the whole crew that managed Elliott House had this mentality of, hey, it's okay to have a bit of an attitude today. You know, it's okay to, it's okay to have a crappy day. But what's not okay is to take it out on a whole bunch of other people. And it was like relaxed. It was like almost like a family there. Now, part of that was me, I guess, because not everybody makes it at Elliott House. It's open, and there is lots of opportunity to abuse drugs. There's lots of opportunity to carry on in your old henhouse ways, as it were. There's lots of opportunity for that, but again, it comes down to personal desire. If that desire for change is there, then something's going to happen. And for the first time, I found myself actually reaching out and asking these people for help.
Great.
You know, when my wife, I was married in 2011 to a lady. I'd known her most of her life. I've known her since she was 11. But we were married in 2011. We got married too soon. The marriage blew apart it fell apart before the ink dried on the warrant of committal, or whatever they call it. And I tried to fix that myself. There was nobody to blame. It's just we got married too soon. The love was there, but we got married too soon. We should have had a longer engagement. Long one short, we split apart. I tried to fix it in my own way, ended up back in the slammer for 3.5 years. And now we're back together. We're living together finally. We're happily married. We're not doing drugs. We're not drinking. And she literally is the queen of the house. You know, and that was another thing I have to, and this is a learning curve even today. I have to listen to my wife, or it's not going to work. She keeps me out of a lot of depression and anger. She seems to recognize. She has an uncanny talent for recognizing when I'm burning out, and I'll come home, especially the last few days when it's been so hot. I've been doing other work, mechanical work, and I come home and she says, "You look tired. Go to bed. Go and have a nap. I'll wake you up when it's dinner time." I'm not tired. Get in there and have a nap. I'll call you when dinner's ready. Yes, ma'am. And so gifts of recovery.
Yeah.
I'm digressing, aren't I?
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. But that was a challenge then, eh? Because you came out probably pretty still attracted to substance abuse, right? Like that had been part of your repertoire for a long time.
It was a fight and rigorous honesty. Some days it still is. There are days, especially when I'm in physical discomfort, which I am. All those war wounds are starting to call in their markers, and I got the arthritis setting in different places in my carcass. And the old dinosaur drug brain says, "Hey, you know what the Band-Aid is, man. All you got to do is make a phone call."
Yeah.
And, so I do make a phone call, usually to my sponsor or to a friend or to a brother in the program, and things get worked out. By the grace of God and the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous and the John Howard and all kinds of contributing factors, I haven't had a drink or anything in just over 8 years now.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. That's great. That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about the actual program you do with John Howard in terms of support your peer work?
I work with, I don't work alone. I can't. I couldn't do it alone. I have coworkers and mentors. There's primarily I work with people that are getting out of Surrey pretrial. I have there's a social worker in there who calls me if I need to go to. Now this was all pre-COVID, right? Since this COVID-19 thing hit, nobody knows what's going on. We got no way of telling whether a guy's getting released or if he's on video court or what. So we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants. And I get a call from the social worker. Will you pick Mr. So-and-so up? He's supposed to be getting released at such and such a time, and he needs to go to the welfare office or to the bank or to the driver's license. And in a lot of instances, I need to take them to an oat clinic or to a pharmacy to get their oat medications. And that was an eye-opener too. I had no idea. I've never been on an oat program. Never an opiate junkie. My bag was the speed. I had no idea how poorly sometimes these people are treated at a pharmacy.
Yeah, it's bad.
They're treated like second-class citizens, and no wonder they get bitter and screw it all anyway and go right back to the corner.
Yeah.
I've actually seen how they get treated, and it's not right. I mean, nobody woke up this morning and decided I'm going to be a drug addict and a scumbag, and there you go. That doesn't happen. Addiction and alcoholism, crime, it's all tied to trauma.
Yeah.
It all comes from somewhere, and usually it's something that happened to us when we was small boys or girls. And until we get a handle on that and learn to deal with that trauma, whatever it is, it's not going away, and it's never going away anyway. We have to. A friend of mine, Keith St. Jean, he runs a program at Level Ground Church. My title for it was Make Friends with Your Trauma. It's called something else officially, but that's what I had to do, and that's what I think we need to do as people who were traumatized, is accept the fact that that's part of who we are.
Yeah.
What we do now with it is up to us, and we're not doing it alone. We need all kinds of help. We need to interact. We need that group dynamic. So.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So how many men would you have helped coming out of Surrey?
How many have I worked with, or how many have I helped? Because there's a difference. How
many have you worked with? I'm assuming you helped them all.
I would love that to be true. Geez, I don't know. I've been here for just over a year doing this. 65. And I would say 50, 60 people maybe.
And so what they face, being in pretrial, they would have been in how long? Just several months or longer than that? Enough to lose their housing and their employment and a variety of other things, eh?
Well,
so what are they?
Some of them have been in remand for like a couple of years.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And I've only ever been in remand, but my longest stint in remand was 9 months before the hammer fell on this life sentence. And that was in the Edmonton Remand Center, which was that's a whole nother thing, that place. But it can be anywhere from a couple of weeks to, like I said, up to a couple of years. Yeah.
So there'd be a level of anxiety there too, because they might not necessarily know what kind of sentence they're going to get or if they're going to be convicted or any of that. Yeah.
And there's a lot of fear involved, I think. I've only had one client admit to me that he was scared to death of adjusting into the community. And as far as I know, he's doing okay now.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
He was on the OAT program, and he had he was doing I think it was Suboxone, and he had a legal prescription for marijuana, which was I think it hadn't become legal yet at that point. But the last time I saw him, which was several months ago, he was doing very well. He was off the OAT program, and he was just doing the medical marijuana.
Good for him. It's great. Yeah.
Well, whatever keeps you away from the dragon's door.
Yeah. 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 That's good. And I think it makes a big difference when somebody physically accompanies them to the places that they need to go to. Because the pharmacy is one thing where your client faces disrespect,
yeah.
But sometimes even just the bureaucracy can be unsettling for people,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, a lot of people throw in the towel. Well, that's been my bone of contention since long before I started working for John Howard. I was actually working in the shelters for Harbor Light, and I noticed there is a bureaucracy. For example, an addict comes into a shelter. I want help. I need help, and I want help. Can you hook me up? You call a detox, and they tell them, well, try and stay clean for 48 hours. And then give us a call, and we'll try and deal with you. We'll see what we can do for you. In the meantime, in that 48 hours, God forbid, the guy goes back out using and drops dead from a fentanyl overdose.
Yeah, yeah.
Get your head around that. Now, that is not helping people. Now, I have no clue how to deal with that. I have no solution for that. I'm just saying that it's heartbreaking to have to see somebody that's genuinely reaching out for help.
Yeah.
And they get tied up with this bundle of red tape.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solution is. I know what I would like to try a couple of times is like have a place where these people can just go. I don't know. That's not my department. I'm just the guy that tries to get them to where they're supposed to go.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. You will see a lot of challenges though, and I think those who see challenges, if they have some ideas about how to solve them, I think that's hugely important, you know.
Well, that's where networking comes in really, really handy. Is see, when it comes to doing this job, I really don't know beans about it. All I know is that I've done an ass full of time, and I've managed to turn it around by the grace of God and a great deal of help from other people. In some cases, people just like me who have done that much time and been able to turn it around.
Yeah.
And basically, I'm just trying to use my experience to try and help somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah.
I don't have a degree behind my name or anything like that. Actually, I do. I'm a certified welder, but that doesn't count for a hill of sticks. You know, I'm just trying to use my experience to instill hope in other people. That's a really big one, is hope. I hear beeping going on. Hello.
For a minute, I thought maybe it was that. Yeah, I mean, I think from the people that I've spoken to, being in touch with someone who's actually walked that path and made it is very important, right? Because there's a way in which you're connecting that's very credible for them, right? That's it makes sense to them. I think peer support is huge. It's a huge motivator, and it's I think it's important in a practical sense as well.
Certainly. There's something I need to tell you. Here is a brief story for you. And this was a major factor in turning things around. I spoke to him about this yesterday, in fact. Just over a year ago, I was living in a place, they called it Tim's Manor then. It's called something else now. It's an Aboriginal facility now. I was there, and I got it was like a posting for an opportunity. A fella called Tory Vogt, who was one of the staff members at Tim's Manor, and Adam Strider again approached me and said, have you seen this? And I read this posting for an opportunity to be part of this pilot program. It was at the time called Peer Mentor, a peer mentor. And I said, yeah, I wouldn't mind taking a look at that, because I've been retired now for a lot of years, and retirement is well overrated. So I said, yeah, I'd love to give it a shot. And he said, well, that's good, because we've already plugged you in. You need to talk to somebody called Teddy Chan. And so we had a meeting. It started out with a conference phone call, and we met. And the fellow that was the social worker for this program at that time was a man called Patrick Story. Now, Patrick Story and me have a little bit of a history in that Patrick sat on 3 of my parole hearings when I was incarcerated. And at that time, I had not yet reached the point where I was ready to turn my melon around. And people like Patrick Story were, as far as I was concerned, were playing on the opposite team, if you like. And so now it's like old home week. We're sitting at this table in the Vancouver office talking about remember when. Now, Patrick became my mentor and taught me a lot about this program, and he's a very compassionate and a very caring individual. He has since become, he's not with our program anymore. He's teaching out at the university here. He has become my friend, and we have coffee from time to time when there's no COVID considerations. We had coffee and a chat yesterday, and I told him what I was doing and asked him how he was doing and everything. I guess he's teaching online. But this is an example, like 5 years ago, if somebody just said, you're going to be working hand in hand with one of the people that sat on your parole hearing and shot you down, I would have told him to spark up another one and pass it around. You know, but that just tells, and my wife too, he's met my wife, and they really like one another. And she's very grateful to him as well, because she saw the old guy when she was a kid. Right? There's still times when she won't tell me about some of the stuff that happened to her when we weren't together, because she doesn't want the old guy waking up and doing things. But she's very grateful to people like Patrick and Teddy and Adam and the rest of the crew that have helped in such a great way for me to turn it around, because it's not just making me a better peer, it's making me a better husband.
Yeah.
You know, that's what she says.
It must feel gratifying when you provided some assistance to someone and you can really see that they needed it and benefited from it, right? Yes,
it is true. It's very gratifying. It is also heartbreaking.
Yeah.
When somebody does so well for a while and then falls. And in one case, unfortunately, died from an overdose.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
The hardest part for me in the beginning, it's not so bad now, again, because of the people that I work with. It was very hard for me in the beginning not to pick that up and run with it. Or if only I'd have said more, if only I'd have listened more, if only I'd have talked more, if only. I'm not responsible for somebody else's relapse.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely responsible for somebody else's recovery. And there are many times too, I have some sponsees as well. Some of them are clients and some not. I tell people that are struggling, keep going with it. Keep telling your story. Keep sharing at meetings. When you're asked to share at a meeting, don't pass. Because for all you know, there's somebody sitting in that room that's white knuckling it, doesn't have a clue. He's sitting there, he or she is sitting there thinking, I ain't never going to do this. You get up and all you got to say is, my name is so-and-so and I'm an addict or an alcoholic, or give it a name. Our story can save somebody's life.
Yeah.
And most times we never know who that is. You know, I don't know. I like to think that telling my story has turned some people's lives around, but I don't know that. Sometimes
Yeah.
I never will. It might be 20 years down the road when somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, hey, I remember you. You said this, that," and it stuck with me and it helped me to turn things around. But most times we don't know. Most times we never know that.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much. I mean, I think I mentioned to you that when we did the podcast, you said something that really resonated with my co-host, who's a person with lived experience, Lawrence Silva. And afterwards he kept saying, he's right. I should have thought of that. Why didn't I think of that? But what you said to him really hit him hard, like he got it, you know? It's good. It's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we just don't know.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, it always helps to try, I think, right? And I think what you said is very true, that what I have found is that a lot of the best peer supporters are good listeners, right? They don't necessarily have all the answers, but they're ready to sit down and listen without judgment, really, right? Because
well, that was a big one for me.
Yeah.
It was like I was one judgmental so-and-so for most of my life. It's like, and a lot of my violent acts were directed at people with the attitude, well, the son of a bitch had it coming because look what they were doing and this and that. And then again, when I let God in, all that went out. It's like, I'm not a judge. I'm certainly not a jury, and I am damn sure not an executioner.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me. An eye-opener for me was when I worked in the shelters for the Salvation Army.
Yeah.
This is a community that when I was in active addiction, I was never there. You know, I didn't go down there to score. I think I drank in the Balmoral a couple of times. That was a family tradition, as it turns out. But it was not my community, and they were not my kind of people, if that's an appropriate way of putting it. When I worked in the shelters, I learned just how important it is to see that whole area as a community, irregardless of what's going on down there. And it's not a pretty place. I was down there a few weeks ago. My wife's brother lives down in that area. And we went down there to visit him, and it looks like Beirut. It's heartbreaking, and some of the things that you hear about people doing to one another down there, it truly is a heartbreaker, and the desire is there now to try and do something to help that. But what do?
Yeah.
You know, So, train left the station there.
No, I think you're quite right. I mean, the letting go of judgment is very hard for everybody, I think. And ex-prisoners face a lot of judgment, right? There's going to be a lot of prejudice against people because they have the criminal records and because, maybe they've got a lot of ink or tattoos or something that sort of marks them out as someone with some experience. There you go. Yeah. And people will judge you for that, unfairly often, but they will, it sets something up in your mind. Yeah.
We, as prisoners, we do get judged a lot, even as parolees. I mean, there's what, 60 something people watching this, and I have no illusions that there's probably one or two of them per small sitting there judging my ass right now. That's the way it is, because no matter how good a person like myself, no matter what I do, I can help people till the cows come home. I can build treatment societies and do all kinds of good works, and I could walk on water maybe. There's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be judges, and there's always going to be, yeah, but. Right? No matter what I can do, yeah, but look what he did. I have learned to accept that and not feel bad about it, because I have done what I've done. I've got a horrendous track record for violence and crime and whatnot. I don't like to, I do not brag about it, for sure. But as weird as it sounds, I'm grateful for the whole thing, because if it wasn't for the way that I had lived, if it wasn't for my past, I wouldn't be able to do what I do in the present. I wouldn't be this fella here, So if I'm being judged, or if I'm being looked at or scrutinized or whatever, that's fine. I mean, I got 54 years of prison experience. It tells me I've been under the camera and under the microscope of Correcciones Canada for most of my life. I have no axe to grind anymore. I certainly have nothing to hide. I've done what I've done, and I'm doing what I do now. And it's not even like I'm trying to make amends. It's just like my daily desire is to do the next right thing for somebody.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah. Yeah. No, here comes Liz. Well, David, before Liz cuts us off, I just want to thank you very much for being so open and sharing so much with people. I'm sure they all greatly appreciated hearing your story and learning about, what motivates you to do such good work that you're doing for John Howard Lower Mainland. Great.
Well, if it wasn't for John Howard, I wouldn't be able to do it.
There you go.
It's really nice. I've said this before to people. It's really nice to have the positive feedback that I've been getting. It's really wonderful, because I have a mental health condition that tells me I'm coming off like a complete 21 jewel idiot. And the positive feedback that I've been getting is really wonderful. But the most important thing to remember, it's not about Dave Towers. It's about the program. It's about the CTT program. It's about John Howard and the people that I work with, and
yes.
If we don't throw in the towel on anybody.
No.
I have no control. There's been files that have been closed because of one thing or another. I have no control over that. But I will still answer a phone call from somebody that's struggling, even if they're no longer a client, because everybody needs an ear, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I got to draw the line when somebody phones me and they're jibbed to the eyeballs. I got to cut them loose, because it's a parole violation for me.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I'll go across the street for anybody.
Hmm.
Thank you so much, David.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you both.
Thank you for having me aboard. I hope wherever this goes is going to be of benefit to somebody.
I hope so too.
Right on.
And
Let's do it.
let's say one thing to the audience before we conclude. John Howard Canada is looking at trying to develop solutions for homelessness post-custody. And we're very interested in hearing from people with lived experience who've experienced housing challenges after custody. So if my good colleagues at John Howard could link me up with some of those people, this would contribute enormously to helping us come up with a possible solution or some solutions. Thanks.
How should we get in contact with you, Catherine?
Through my Latimer@johnhoward.ca.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we can definitely include your contact details in the blog, which will follow up after this event.
Perfect.
I've just put the...
And David, if you know some who've had housing difficulties who'd be willing to chat about it, that'd be great.
I've just put a link to the podcast so you can listen to the whole set in the chat box there. Nobody's come through with any questions, but I know that I think Adam was listening in, so that's really nice, David, that you'd mentioned him, and Megan and Tori. Yeah, they got to hear you speak, which is awesome. And Anne also said that she truly enjoyed hearing your story, David. So yeah, it's very, very impactful. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Does anyone...
So much for the opportunity to share a little bit and hopefully to give somebody a leg up. I don't know, everybody struggles.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're just out of time. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to reach out to us through the JHS BC website, and we can...
Question for Mr. Towers.
Okay.
I do counseling with court-required clients. What would be the best advice that you have for working with clients who are court mandated to do therapy?
Advice for working with clients who are court mandated to do therapy. Wow. You had to get me going, didn't you? That therapy is like a 12-step program. I don't think it can be enforced because myself anyway, if I was court mandated to go to therapy or treatment of some kind, boom, 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 up go the walls, resentment, what the dirty buggers are trying to make me do now. The only thing is to have the client try and convince the client to keep his mind open to what's going on and recognize that it's not about being made to do something. It's about having an opportunity presented to him or her to turn it around. Now that's easier said than done, but that's the way I would look at it.
David, for other questions that we might be short on time for, can we share your email for those?
Yes.
Okay.
Small case across the board, one word, dklincolntowers@gmail.com.
I'm going to type this out in the chat. At Gmail?
Yeah.
Is that Teddy's arm we see, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's my personal email. It's the only one I got, actually.
Great.
If anyone wants to follow up the question today, his contact details. And just to let you know, we have an additional session this week. So on Wednesday, we're going to be joined by Andrea Montero, Director of Corrections for Yukon Government, as well as Howard Sapers, former correctional investigator for Canada and independent consultant. And they're going to be speaking about the new John Howard Society program for supervised residential housing in Whitehorse. So that is this Thursday, so 2 days' time. It'll be 12:30 Pacific time. So I hope you're all able to join me. Then we're going to take a break over August. I hope people are able to take some kind of staycation or break, whatever you're able to do. And then we're going to be looking at a monthly session. So if you are aware of any programs that you think should be featured on our session, please do let us know. We would love to feature programs from across the country and just give the opportunity to have a platform or a discussion about something that's important. So please let us know your ideas. We're so interested to hear them. And with that, it's a little over 12:30. So thank you so much, David. Thanks, Catherine. I hope everyone has a great day.
Pleasure.
See you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Bye.
God bless you. Good. Stay well.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.